we'll just all roll with it. It'll be good.
Okay.
And we have the Twitter comments now are live. So remember before when we first went live, like they couldn't make comments on Twitter. You can now on everything. So
is this music live as well?
Yeah, I mean I can turn it off. I just
no. Let it ride. Let it ride. You can even hit our intro if you wanted to when we get ready.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna check Twitter real quick. See how make sure it's live. Yep, live podcast.
What'd y'all get for Christmas?
Got a smoker, man.
Ooh, nice.
Like
Electric pellet
thing?
or
Yeah, did the pellet thing, man. I don't have the time to sit and watch a stick burner all day long.
yeah.
I got this hat. See that?
Sweet, old school.
Oh, wait, why you said that? I'm so glad you said that. Check this out.
He disappeared.
Uh-oh. This could get some crazy ratings here in a minute. What's he gonna do?
I don't know if I told you before. Sorry about the angle on this thing. My computer is an old iMac. It wouldn't do Chrome, so I had to switch to this iPad.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Audio's good. There's 15 people on now. You guys ready?
Yeah, the new hat.
Love the hat.
Yeah.
Sweetness.
Scripted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little scripty action. I feel weird in the hat now. I haven't worn one in a while. Yeah.
I guess hit our music and let's roll.
Let's roll.
Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of To the Top Talk, the original and longest running Southern Miss podcast in the market. We are recording this on PLo.
Ooh, December the 28th.
I should know that because my mom's birthday was yesterday. From beautiful Midtown, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Here, as always, with your break from the High Resource 5 propaganda to talk a little Southern Miss athletics. I'm your host, Jason Bailey. Joining me now, the one and only Patrick Lowry.
Yo. Got through
buddy?
Christmas. We survived. Man, tonight was a good night. Went downtown. Hattiesburgers. Hadn't been in a little while. It was perfection. Blues at Sunset Burger. Little teriyaki, little pineapple. Did a quick little buzz through the Pocket Museum. It was freezing, but it was awesome. Then stopped by a little Mobay. Got a little coffee to get me through this live. So good day.
I see how you spend a lot of time on my side of I-59, and I like to see where your head's at right there. Just want to point that out. Also joining us tonight, who lives in my neighborhood. PLo, you should come join us.
Yeah.
Glyn Dyar. Glyn, what's up?
What's going on, guys? Happy holidays.
Indeed. So everybody's had a good Christmas so far?
Yeah, most excellent.
It's been good.
Time with family.
And speaking of spending time with family, today's episode is brought to you by my home away from home, 4th Street Bar and Grill, Hattiesburg's premier neighborhood sports bar. Not only do they have the famous home-style plate lunches Monday through Friday, but they also have weekly drink specials. Make 4th Street Bar and Grill your go-to spot for all Southern Miss games, home and away. 4th Street Bar and Grill, we install and service hangovers. So most everybody that is logged in right now probably realizes this, but we do have a YouTube channel now. If you're watching this on Twitter, if you're watching this on Facebook and wherever else PLo's got it broadcasting out of.
YouTube. On that YouTube channel.
Okay, on the YouTube channel. So go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. We're going to do these live things every, I don't know, 1 or 2 a month, or maybe more than that. I'm not sure. They're going pretty good right now, so we might do these more times than not. But we thought, and we were going to just stop and not do anything for the rest of 2023. But we thought it was a good idea to get somebody on here and talk about this football recruiting class that we had. And the best guy that I know that can possibly do that is Glyn Dyar. So we got Glyn to hop on with us. Those of you who are not familiar with what Glyn does, he works over at the Southern Miss 247 site and is all over everything Southern Miss related to that for the website. If you want recruiting news, portal news, coaching interviews, what happened at practice, what they ate for lunch, you can get all that over there. The message board is great. I'm a part of that site. And I think it's important to note that this isn't a paid spot for the site. We just know what Glyn does and Drew and what they bring to the table. And, we can get them on. You just go ahead and get them on every single time. So, Glyn, and I want to give out your Twitter handle as well. You guys can follow Glyn on Twitter at Dyar2467. So, I probably fumbled my way through that, but Glyn, that's basically what you guys do over there, right?
Yeah, that's it. We cover the big sports on campus and, any news that's going on within the campus. Like you said, the message board, it's a 24/7 guys on there. We have 400 plus guys messaging about all things Southern Miss, whether it be academics, athletics, recruiting. And like you said, we cover mainly football, baseball, basketball, practice reports, interviews with players, coaches, obviously recruiting and things of that nature. And you can find us at goldeneaglepride.com. And we have a monthly special, $1. Give it a try. You have the monthly try. If you don't like it, move on. Cost you $1.
No, that's yeah. And I was going to ask you how much it costs because I really don't even know anymore. It just comes out of my account every single month, and it's been doing that for quite a while now. And it's premier. A lot of times I have to stop myself when I'm prepping for the show because I don't want to give away all your information. but it's invaluable, and you guys do a really, really, really good job with it.
We appreciate it.
How long have you been with 247? Or I guess Golden Eagle Pride. It's all the same thing, but this 247 has been part of it for the last couple of years at least.
Right, probably 6 or 7 years, but started doing this before social media was a thing back in the Bauer years as just a hobby. Some people fish and hunt. I like going to ball practice, so got started doing it back then. And then somebody told me years ago, I'd pay you to do it, and I was stunned.
Love it. What are kind of what's the day-to-day look like for you on the site? And then I know a lot of that, especially during camp and different things, is obviously at practice and checking everything out. But what does it kind of look like for you?
Well, in season, when we're in football season, we're allowed out there generally 2 days a week. So hit it at 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, spend the whole day out at practice, breaking down all the positions, taking notes, checking out what's going on. And obviously, Coach Hall's really good to us to let us go out there. But in the same token, there's some things you obviously are not going to talk about. But he's always been good about giving us all the information we've ever wanted. But after the practice, we always interview Coach Hall, then usually position players, coaches, and then go home and write what I call a practice report of what I've seen on the day. And then we blend in the interviews with it as well. We'll have videos as well. And generally do the same thing for baseball as well.
Right. And Jason, before we get too deep, I do want to remind people that are watching, if you have a question or comment, let us know on X, Facebook, or YouTube. And I saw we had one pop in earlier from Shane. So I'll put those up there and we'll answer those as we're going through the show.
Very good. Hey, talking about these little interviews that you do after practice with the other media members, but you're always there, and I always kind of see it through your lens on that 247 site. This coaching staff compared to the previous coaching staffs, you've been doing this for a long time. These guys seem to let you in a little bit more than in years past. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. They've been extremely gracious. I've never asked for an interview that's been turned down or had a bad attitude or anything like that. They're extremely gracious. And, by the same token, I'm going to treat them as well, with honesty and, be straightforward, honest with what they tell me and things of that nature. But, Coach Hall from day one said, we want to give you all the access we can give you just, I got his phone number. If I have an issue, I need to see him. He usually gets right back to me. They've been really good, not only with me, with all the media.
Awesome. Obviously, the big headline is the football recruiting class for 2024 was #1 in the Sun Belt. Talk a little bit about that, and kind of like what goes into that ranking, and kind of your reaction to that.
It comes out as a composite score of our site, 247Sports, Rivals, and ESPN to come up with a composite. That's where they get a number to rate your classes and your players. Then it's total off points that players get on a rating. In terms of the class, like you said, tops in the Sun Belt and just overall class, but there's also a second rating for portal class, and they currently are #2 there behind Marshall. So, I mean, they hit on all cylinders with this. And they have about 2 scholarships left to give. They're going to sign close to 30 guys in this class. And the next 2 guys will more than likely be portal guys, and they may be able to surpass Marshall at that point. But in terms of the class, out of all Will's classes, the first thing that stood out to me, I think this is on paper his best high school class. And, Coach Hall talked when he came in about building relationships with people. I mean, that's so true in all these kids. They got their kids, almost this whole high school class, locked down in the summer through their camps, where they can put eyes on kids, get numbers, and put them through their paces. And once they locked that down with the kids and their parents, none of these kids swayed. We lost 1 kid out of this whole class. The rest of them were locked in, even with some turnover, with our coaching staff. The high school defensive line class is probably, like I say, on paper, the best group of defensive linemen I've seen us, sign since probably the Jeff Bauer years. I almost want to call them the Fab Five. They were, for the last 3 years, they've been looking for some length along the defensive line to go with girth. They added 3 guys that are 6'4" plus, and probably all of them are going to be between 285 and 300 pounds after they get out of the weight room. So it's going to be an impressive class, and a couple of them are good enough right now to probably contribute next year as true freshmen. A guy like Miles Adams, 6'4", 280, blew it out of the water at camp. Came into camp as a heavy Troy lean. They did an excellent job with him and turned him and his mother. And within probably 10 days of that camp, he had flipped over to Southern Miss. And once he locked in on it, even with pressure from other teams late, he never wavered on his commitment. And that 6'4", 280, he's a freaky athlete. Serious bend, burst off the ball, wingspan. He's going to easily be 300 pounds in a year.
Hey, what's really good. Yeah, and we're going to dive all into it. I wonder what's the message to the kids these days that the coaches are telling them. I mean, this is kind of a Ladner situation from last year, right? I mean, I think a lot of people look at it that way, that I don't want to say the writing's on the wall, because I believe in what Coach Hall is trying to do, and I hope that he can get it done. But it's kind of put up or shut up time. So when he does, I mean, and it really speaks to the recruiting acumen that the coaching staff brings to be able to pull in this kind of class with that just being out there. So I mean, what are they telling them? How are they getting this done?
I think the main thing, I mean, kids can see through BS. I mean, they know kids are a lot more streetwise than probably we were growing up. Will and the guys and their coaching staff are straight up with them. They're honest with them. I've heard kids say genuine. They don't make many promises. They let the parents know that we're going to take care of them here, love them up, coach them hard, and they're going to get their, the academics will be, in line and taken care of. And I think the main thing is honesty. I mean, these guys are consistent. They stay in contact, and they don't waver on the truth. They let these kids know what's going on, and kids appreciate that. So many of the kids that we've signed through the portal over the years, coming from the SEC, I'm not going to mention any teams, when the kids got here after they've been here 6 to 8 months, and I kind of get to talk to them, they say it's a completely different world. They said over there it's business. Half of them don't know your name. If you're not a starter, you get no love at all. Here they take care of all 85 kids, on the field and off the field. That's a big deal.
Very good. PLo, is there a comment that we have from?
Yeah, we had a good one pop in here from Jordan Hall on Facebook. I'm going to throw that up on the screen, but it's I want to get Glenn's thoughts on the coaching hires, specifically that with the turnover we've had on the coaching staff.
Yeah, let's jump into that coaching stuff. We were going to get to it eventually, but yeah, Glenn, I mean, what are your thoughts on what we've done with the moves on the coaching staff? And I mean, what do you think of those moves? Do you like them? Chip Long offensively and Clay Bignell defensively, the new coordinators, and then Jordy Joseph left. And has been replaced by Michael Spurlock. I think I haven't seen the university talk about that, but I think you guys have. Go ahead and hit on a lot of the coaching changes that we've had.
To Spurlock, he's the wide receiver coach at Western Kentucky. He's actually going to come here as a running back coach. Through doing that, you'll be able to move Greg Meyer, who was doing running back and special teams. He was hired as a special teams coach initially. He'll move back to special teams, and Spurlock will handle running backs. Spurlock's a young up-and-comer, spent 7 or 8 seasons in the NFL, was a quarterback at Ole Miss, been around the block a little bit, excellent recruiter, excellent credentials. I think he'll mesh well with that new offensive staff. And then to that, Coach Long coming in, I mean, all you got to do is look at his resume. You know, he's up for the O'Brien Award twice, I think, when he was at Notre Dame. Put out huge numbers over there. I'm really interested to see how his styles changed spending a year or two with Coach Brom over there at Louisville, where they had a really good offense. He's going to coach tight ends, so we still need to hire a quarterback coach. And the other vacancy is a D-line coach. We still hadn't named that guy yet either. But Coach Bignell, he's been around some big names, namely Coach Lee, who's the coach over at Vanderbilt when he was at Notre Dame. He runs that system. Narduzzi at Pittsburgh, similar system from that coaching tree. Well, we ran kind of a 3-3-5 kind of look with a hybrid defensive ends. We're going to go back to more of a 4-2-5 look, and you'll see more even fronts, 4-down fronts, 5-man fronts, where we get a little more speed off the edge. So there'll be some subtle changes, you know, when Coach Bignell puts his system in, you know, this spring.
You mentioned the word quarterback right there. And that's, I mean, with every team, right? I mean, the quarterback touches the ball every single snap. All of the good Southern Miss teams and probably most teams that play football, the reason that they're good, they always have a good quarterback, right? They always have a guy. And all of my favorite teams from years past, when we've been good, we've had a dude back there. So, and we've seen some flashes from players on the team this year, you know, but the kid, John White from MRA, is a really big deal, just recruiting wise, most passing yards in Mississippi high school history, I believe.
Yeah.
Crawford's back. Our guy, hey, and side note, our guy Jake Lang, right before we went live, announced that he's going to Delta State for his last year. So let's go ahead and give it up for Jake real quick.
Love Jake. Class act.
I will definitely be making a trip up to Cleveland. I've never been to a football game there. It's where my dad went to school. And my dad was actually like student body president and the whole deal while he was there. And he's come down to my school a bunch. So now I have an even extra reason to go up there and watch a game in Cleveland. But so talk to me about this John White guy, and then maybe what does that room look like heading into 2024?
I'll start with, they have 2 scholarships left I'd mentioned. I think one of those scholarships will probably be another offensive lineman out of the portal, another older guy. And I think they're going to pursue an older quarterback if they can find the right guy. And I'm sure Coach Long coming in will have some say in that. He's actually not been on campus yet. He's kind of Brom's right-hand man at Louisville. Now that their game ended in painful fashion last night, he'll be in Hattiesburg, and they can kind of get things settled out with a quarterback coach, and you know, look out in the portal and see if there's somebody that they're interested in to bring in. You know, somebody that would be a bridge and a good fit, you know, for our situation. You know, the quarterbacks that were here last year, I expect all those guys back to be out there in the spring. Wiles, Edwards, the youngster will be back out there, obviously, Crawford. Then you add White to it, 15,000 plus yards in a career and 177 total touchdowns.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. I watched him. I wanted to see what he did against Oak Grove, against the top-notch, big boy high school defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he carved them up, man. I was really impressed. They mostly played cover zero the whole time, and he just found his guys. The most impressive thing to me, though, was his accuracy. He's on the dime all night long, and that was when he got chased out of the pocket. He was accurate out of the pocket. When they got him off his spot, he was dangerous and accurate in the face of pressure. I saw him step into hits when he knew he was going to get killed to make the throws. And he didn't get as much credit for his speed. I mean, when he was at Southern's camp, I think he ran in the 4.67 range. So, that's not really his game, but he can hurt you with his feet if he has to. And he's going to come in as one of the more polished high school quarterbacks I've seen in a while. He's had all the high school coaches. He's done all the camps, the 7-on-7s. He's a really polished kid, and he was in a really good system over there at MRA. So, he'll be in this spring, and he expects to compete for the job. And, he's a confident, smart young man. I expect him to step in there and compete.
So you say things like accuracy and he's got a little mobility. Two fairly recent quarterbacks in Southern Miss history, Nick Mullins and Austin Davis, both went on to NFL careers. Nick's still playing. If I was to say, is John White more like Mullins or more like Austin Davis, which way are you leaning?
I'm going to cop out a little bit and say he's a combination of the two. He's more athletic than Nick, and he's more physically developed than Nick as a freshman. John's a 6 foot 200-pounder. Nick was probably 6'1", 175 when he got on campus. But he's also like Austin. He's got that swagger. He's got that grit. I think he's going to be able to step into a huddle and grab people by the face mask, get their attention, and take care of business in that regard. Just a confident dude like Austin. Austin he was
Love it.
Leader extraordinaire, man. And he's just got a lot of qualities. I guess Coach Hall talks about a lot of times we get guys who have a nick against them or a check against them, and the only thing would be his height at 6 feet, and he's legit 6 feet tall. So there's plenty of 6 foot tall quarterbacks who've been wildly successful in the college and NFL level. So I look forward to seeing him come in there and compete.
Good to know. PLo, so I know we had talked about this before when we were off air, but another big name has been linebacker Chris Jones, very highly touted. Talk about him a little bit and what he brings to the table.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was up until the end. It was a fight for Chris Jones. He was a hot commodity late. Got a good push on him from some of our Sunbelt brethren for his services. Mm-hmm. Chris is probably 5'11", 6'1.5", somewhere in that range. Can really run and cover. He will tag you 2 years in a row, 100+ tackles. In today's game, linebackers got to be able to run and cover it. They can't just sit in the box and be thumpers anymore. Mm-hmm. He's athletic enough to pick up tight ends, pick up running backs out of the backfield, and with his speed, he's gonna, when it's called for B gap blitzes, he's gonna be able to do that too. But I just like his physicality. When he hits people, they go down. That's it. Nobody's dragging for extra yards on Chris. So he won't be in here early in the spring. Uh-huh. But we don't have a terribly deep linebacker room, so he's a guy who's got a chance to make an impact as a true freshman.
Well, I was going to say, I've heard Coach Hall talk about it a million times that we have, we'll be one of the oldest teams, I think, next year, like 57 guys coming back or something like that, right? And we're talking about all the new guys coming in, but how is that going to mix, with the young buck coming in, throwing for 15,000 yards, and the linebacker playing in the all the all-star games that he's playing in, and being so visible out there on social, like they've. I mean, how do you see that meshing?
What I've gotten from these kids, and it's probably similar everywhere around the country, is these kids just want to win. They don't care who the quarterback is. As long as you're a good dude and you're not being a jerk out on the field and showing up people and showing up your teammates, and you're a team guy, they're going to embrace you, man. These guys want to win, and they want it the guy that's going to take them to that win on the field. So, I don't see that being an issue. Now, there's going to be a 25% flip roster. On the roster, they're bringing in close to probably 22 to 24 new guys will be in here in the spring, and 6 of them will be high school kids. So it's going to be a very interesting spring.
No doubt.
Glyn, talk a little bit about, I know, and you did this briefly to start, but the class as a whole and kind of how did it make us, like, as a whole, how did it make USM as far as the team this, looking ahead for next year better? Kind of generalizing.
I mean, we alluded to it earlier that, no pull, no punches. This is a make or break year. And while Coach Hall was putting together an outstanding high school class, that's not necessarily going to win you a ton of games right off the bat. So he had some real holes to fill through the portal, and he's gotten that done. He picked up the 2 linebackers. That was crucial. Because Swayze's gone, Hayes is gone, TQ's going to med school. So that's your 3 main guys gone. So they had to find 2 guys that can immediately step on campus and compete for the starting spot with Jaleel Sims. So picking up those 2 guys, Desmond and who was other Pinckney from Coastal. Mm-hmm. One guy, Pinckney will play weak side linebacker, and Desmond will play middle linebacker. So those guys are expected to come right in and compete for the starting jobs. That was crucial, and I know they worked hard to get those guys in here. So that's a big part. Chip Long coming in likes to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So, really, Cole Cavallo gone. We only had 1 guy, the true freshman that had been here, Reed. So they need to go find some quality at tight end. And, they hit a home run with the Ole Miss kid they got the other day. Let's see, what was his name, guys? Looking. Kyron Heath from Ole Miss. That's a guy that was kind of off my radar. He's a Texas kid, and found out that recruiting extraordinaire cornerback coach Dwight Wilson had a connection with him. I was able to get right on him when he got in the portal. Kid's got 2 years left. He's played as a true freshman at Ole Miss at the highest level, 6'4", about 240. He's a guy that's athletic enough to flex out and give you a receiving matchup problem in the red zone against safeties or linebackers. And then they added a kid from Jones who, I'm just kind of old school, man. I like guys that are maulers. This kid, Taryn Bedford from Jones, 6'4", 265. He's not coming here to catch the football. He's coming here to plow people. So I'm excited to have him locked in next to the tackles, in our run game. And then you mentioned the All-Stars, Reed Jezelowski, kid kind of a freak. He came to camp and ran in the 4.52s, 37-inch vertical. Was a tight end by trade this year. They didn't have a running back, so they take a 6'4" guy and put him at running back, and he rushes for over 2,000 yards. So he's going to be kind of a freak. Obviously, we need to put 10 or 15 pounds on him, but he's a guy that's going to be athletic enough to flex out and be that matchup problem, I spoke of, with Kyron Heath. They that tight end class, they really flipped up the talent in that room. And last year, they just kind of had to piece it together. Cavallo was out there held together with bubble gum and tape. He was so beat up, shoulders, elbows, knees. He was a warrior, man.
Bionic arm, leg, everything was taped up.
Man.
And
so this 2 tight ends, are we talking about? I mean, the Patriots through the heyday years with the 2 tight end sets. I mean, should we expect some kind of an offensive sets that looked like that a lot? I mean, obviously, you got to have, it helps to have a Gronk out there. And
think ULL, Lafayette, that strong running game they've had for years and years with Napier. He ran a ton of 12 personnel with the 2 tight ends, and it'll be a case of that. We ran some of it last year, but we just couldn't do it because we didn't have enough bodies to do it. Now that obviously they'll have the bodies to do that, and it's really huge for him in the run game. Creates extra gaps on the outside that defenses have to account for. And, it'll be a situation where you'll have a guy attached to a tackle in line with him and then an H-back off his hip, in certain situations. And, a lot of movement with your tight ends, the way they move Cavallo around a lot. So, it'll be stuff like that. And if you remember Rice from the last couple of years, that heavy run game with the 2 tight ends, it'll look something like that. Stanford over the last 10 years. Power run game, setting up, play action pass game.
Interesting. I like it. And I wanted to tell the Wizard that I do see his comment on here, but he said that he was ignoring me, so I'm just ignoring him. So there it is, Wiz. Hey, let's talk about Frank Gore Jr. for a minute.
Sure.
He's moving on, declared for the NFL draft, which I think was probably expected. But those are really big shoes to fill.
Humongous.
Who takes on that role moving forward?
Drake Clark. He's the man. And Kenyon Clay is still. I mean, I've seen some scrimmages in practice where that guy just takes over.
Mm-hmm.
But with exception of the run at Lafayette, I hadn't really. I'm still got questions about him. Is he going to be that every down kind of back that you compare with Drake Clark? I mean, he's going to have to be. We picked up the talented freshman out of Houston, Mississippi, Jalen Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and he's coming in early as well. He's going to figure right into that mix right off the bat. So he's 5'8", about 195. Kind of physically reminds me when I look at him of Jalen Richard.
Yep.
Just not the linear long speed that Jalen had. Jalen was a legit 4.4 guy. And this kid's mid to low 4.5s. But I think everybody's going to like him. Runs through contact, makes the first guy miss. Great receiver. Ran for over 2,000 yards this year. After an ACL injury that cost him his junior year, people were questioning whether he'd be back. No problem. Over 2,000 yards and 42 touchdowns this year in his senior year. So I think everybody's going to like him. I personally, not that it matters at all, would have liked to add one more older running back to that room. And they still may down the road, because we know running backs just get nicked up, in handfuls. So if they added one more to that room, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. They're going to mix in J.Q. Gray from Oak Grove, got redshirted this year.
Right.
He's about 5'8", 160, but he's a missile in terms of speed.
Yeah. What was his nickname that they came up with? Was it
I think he called him the Missile.
Was it the Missile? I'll take it.
Something like that.
I like it.
Was it a bottle rocket?
Bottle Rocket. That was it.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, he fits that. He's just a guy that he came in at 160 pounds. They gave him the red shirt year while letting him practice with the first team. So he's going to be ready to go. He just needs to add 10 pounds to his frame. And I'm sure he'll get in the weight room with Coach Ankar and get that done. So he'll be in the mix as well and kind of more of a super back role, throwing the ball out of the backfield and get him in space. That's where he's dangerous, but he does have the speed to take it to the house.
PLo, we have some comments rolling in, I believe. You want to update?
Yeah, we do. Just wanted to thank a couple of people. Jordan earlier for that question about the coaching hire. Johnny Cox talking about Reed Jaslowski, I guess is how you say that.
Mm-hmm.
And we covered that. Shane chimed back in with a comment from you.
Of course he did.
And a good friend, Attack Eagles, was asking about the running back room. So appreciate those. Keep them coming.
Very good. Hey, Glenn, and I honestly can't remember if we talked about this yet or not, but offensive line. So it seemed like for a 4 or 5 day stretch there, every time I looked up, we had another guy leaving, entering the portal or announcing they were, done, which I thought they were kind of already done anyway. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, and there was a lot of, I know with Jerquan Scott anyway, it seems like everybody in the world was offering this guy, just offer after offer after offer after offer. So, I mean, what does that room look like heading into next year? Was any of this surprising to you? And what do you expect? What do you expect that room to look like next year?
They even this summer they had a strong feeling that this would be Jerquan's last year. Wildly athletic, still got a little bad weight on his body. That once he gets committed and gets the rest of that off, I mean, he's an NFL center, man. That's his natural position. He didn't get to play it here because of some of the limitations we had with depth. I'll be curious to see if he doesn't end up being Ole Miss's center this year.
I think there's a flag on the play there for a false start, though.
Yeah, can you false start as the center? I guess you can, but I'd love to know.
It's a talent, man. It's a talent. I mean,
especially on third and short.
When we were talking about positions of need, O-line's huge. I mean,
yeah,
4 of the 5 starters are gone. They hit the jackpot with last year with the portal with Gabe Cavazos from Mississippi State. He ended up actually being better than any of us thought he was going to be, and just keeps getting better and better. It's a really good pass defender. He just needs to continue to get stronger and, pick up his game in the run game. And he's a young guy, and he should be able to do that. But you finally got your anchor at left tackle. That's hard to do. They picked up Zach Conte from Eastern Michigan. He's a on and off 2-year starter for them, started all their games this year at left guard. He will battle for one of those guard spots. Older guy with 1 year left, 6'6", about 325. He's just one of those road grader tough guys. That was a valuable get. One of the biggest gets to me, and it didn't look like we were going to get him for a while, was the Gulf Coast right tackle, Greg Nunnery, Adam McComb. He was committed to us for a long time, and then his tape starts coming out from Mississippi Gulf Coast and then Purdue and South Florida offering. He decommits to us. He wants to think about it, which that's pretty honorable. So, he wanted to feel right about making his visits. And in the end, he, made his last visit to us that last week, and they locked him down. I expect Greg to come in and compete for that right tackle spot. He's about 6'3", 6'4", 315, athletic enough to defend the pass, take care of a wide rush. And he's really nasty, man. Y'all are going to love watching him. He loves to plant people. So, and I'm all about that. So that was a huge piece in that class. And, when you still got the young, one of the young twins, that's still available, he could be a left tackle. He could be a right tackle. And they also may stick him and his brother, the twins, in at guard now that we have enough tackles. His natural position is probably guard. Yep. So this spring's going to be real interesting. Center is probably – I got a feeling they're still looking for a center in the portal, and may hear something on that the next week or two. But that's going to be a position they still need to shore up.
Awesome. So how many? I think you said earlier we have 2 spots remaining. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got 28 guys locked down, and so they got 2 spots left that will get us to 85 scholarships. I think that's pretty close.
And when do you kind of anticipate the class kind of being wrapped up as far as solidified?
They have until the first day of class, which I think is January 17th, to lock all that down. So, there's plenty of time. After the first of the year, next week, they can bring kids in again for official visits on that first weekend in January. I figure at that point they'll be done, if not before then.
Awesome. Good deal. Hey, and we're going to get to – there's been a few more comments pop in. But before we get to that, what about all the other schools in the Sun Belt, Glenn? I mean, how are they stacking up? There's been a lot of coaches moving around. It seems like every day there is a coach leaving and taking another job somewhere. So, I guess I like that we're not doing a lot of that, even though we had our coaching carousel as well. But how does everybody else's recruiting stack up with how we've done and filling needs and getting those new coaches feet wet at their new school?
Well, just a guy that's still going. Butch Jones over at Arkansas State. I thought he had a really good class. They didn't lose a ton of guys. They lost a really good linebacker, but the core of that team, they kept that intact. They didn't lose the quarterback that was so good. And they signed a really good P5 type quarterback. They got him late. So, they anticipate the young quarterback leaving at some point. They got the next guy lined up, so that was a good move for them. I'm seeing kind of a changing of the guard. I mean, with losing the coach at JMU, that was kind of a rough deal. And the core of that, and we go to play them at Harrisonburg this year, the core of that team in terms of talent, they vamoosed. So, and they hadn't actually killed it reloading through high school kids, JUCO kids, or even the portal. So that's going to be interesting. They still got some holes to fill over there, some big holes. Same thing could be said of Coastal Carolina. Beck's still there, but a lot of guys pulled out of there. Obviously the quarterback go to NC State. They're going to have a lot of holes to fill. And I don't necessarily know that they have taken care of all their, those holes yet. Texas State's class is pretty solid. Last year they went crazy in the portal and signed all those SEC type athletes, quarterbacks and stuff. They didn't hit that lick like that this year. It's pretty average in terms of portal talent. So that's what's going on there. Marshall's got a strong class. Coach Huff over there, they probably got the best portal class, not not far ahead of Southern Miss, but the problem there is they've lost over 20 guys that have hit the portal. So that's
Wow.
There's some things going on over there that we wouldn't call good. So, culture issues maybe, I don't know. But
what about South Al? How are those guys doing?
That's interesting. They didn't lose a ton of guys, but the guys they lost were just difference makers. Obviously, the stud running back Webb's going to the NFL. They recently lost their top corner Voisin's heading out. They're hoping they can get him back, but it's looking like Arkansas is going to jump on him. He's an all-conference type corner. Their all-conference left guard who transferred there from Florida State, he jumped in the portal 2 days ago. He's probably going to be gone. I'm trying to think who else they lost over there. They lost some big pieces, and obviously that was a senior-laden team, so they lost a lot due to graduation. So the West next year is going to be interesting. Troy has lost a ton over the last 2 weeks. That new coach, when he came in, I thought he would come in and give the rah-rah speech and settle everybody down and lock them in. But the lion's share of some of their best talent has jumped in the portal in the last 3 or 4 days. So whatever he said didn't lock them down. So their stud DN that lives in our backfield for the last 2 years, JT, the Jackson kid, he jumped in, probably headed to West Virginia. Their stud running back, Kamani Vidal, thankfully decided to go to the NFL a year early, so we don't have to deal with him.
Sure.
So the West is up for grabs next year, man.
Awesome.
Hey, PLo, right before you get to the comments, go ahead, man. I'm wearing my G-Spot T-shirt. Can you remind everybody where they can go find their G-Spot T-shirt?
Yeah, let's
baseball
do it.
Season's coming up. You got a lot of those coming out, so hit us with that real quick.
There is. So if you're watching, you can see it there at the bottom of the screen, bonfire.com/store/to-the-top-talk, or any of our social channels has a link tree, and it's at the top of that. And like Jason said, there's a lot on there from last year. We did a lot of shirts last year for baseball season. Those are all still on there, and we have a new one, kind of a rendering that's Pete Taylor Park, that's very similar to the one we released for The Rock for football season. So that is going to be up this week. I'll put that out there, so I will do it. So yeah, that's that. Let's jump over to, we did have a lot of comments come in, and Jason, you'll like this one. Good friend Stevie Powers is ready to talk baseball, and we will definitely have him on again.
Absolutely. God, you talk about one of the guys that do, like, when you get these guys on for an interview, you never know what you're going to get. And you get a guy like Stevie on.
Y'all are going to love this pitching staff, man. It's deep. He's got front end, middle guys, back end pieces, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
It's going to be sweet.
Gonna have a whole bunch of
Stevie. There's your little baseball talk, Stevie.
Yeah.
And other than that, we've had lots of people they will all want to hear about where we are in the wide receiver room. And so
Johnny Cox has a comment about that. Eagles Attack has a comment about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. Obviously lost some key pieces. Caston's gone. Frog Jones is gone. A guy that I thought was going to be able to help us this year, Tyquan Henderson, jumped in the portal for reasons unknown.
Yep.
That was interesting. So obviously, you lost a lot of pieces. You have Mims, who's back, and they signed Keyshawn Buckley out of Garden City Community College. He's a smaller guy, 5'10", about 175. His calling card is speed. He's a 10-6, 10-500 meters guy coming in. He's probably going to pair with Mims in the slot. So that gives you another speed component there. Obviously, getting Larry Simmons the other day was huge from Ole Miss. He'll have 3 years left. Larry's about 6'1", 190. He's probably going to be able to play that field side wide receiver where Frog was. Low 4.5 guy, tremendous hands. Got a long catch radius for a 6'1" guy, and tracks the ball well, ball skills. I think we're going to really enjoy him. Explosive type guy that we had to have with all these guys, moving on down the road. And kind of an interesting guy they picked up late, Dakota Thomas out of Colin. Came out of the Atlanta area as a high-rated, 3-star by 247. He's about 6'1", 200 right now. Initially went to Western Kentucky, played as a true freshman, and played in their bowl game and had a nice bowl game. Then after that, just kind of disappeared. got dissatisfied with his situation over there and jumps to Akron. Well, he goes off in the spring game, scores a touchdown. Looks like he's going to be a starter for their team at wide receiver. And checks out there and just decides to go to Colin and finish things up. He gets going at Colin, and game 5, he gets hurt, and he's done for the season there. Through that happening, that's probably how we got him. He was probably headed to a P5. Really explosive guy. Just watching him on film, he reminds me of Caston with an inch taller and a little longer catch radius. Explosive guy like that. He's going to help us immediately. So Simmons and getting Dakota Thomas was crucial. And
that sounds exactly like what Attack Eagles was talking about. He said, I think we missed having a JB to throw it up to. Can anybody fill that void? So that might be the guy?
Well, no, I think the guy that's going to be that guy is the tight end from Ole Miss we mentioned earlier. Just for the film I saw him, he's athletic enough at 6'4", 240 pounds to body up people and go take away 50-50 balls. He's going to help us down the field in that regard and in the red zone. And then J.J. Butler, man, it's just a matter of time before that kid explodes. He's 6'5.5", 212 pounds. Just wasn't quite ready to help us last year, but he's definitely a dude that can go up and take the football away from anybody. That's his calling card. They're counting on him to be that boundary physical receiver that can win those one-on-one matchups and body up corners, and take 50-50 balls away from them.
Blue Bonnet Williams has chimed in. He says, Glenn's been doing a great job, even way back when Bauer ran him off the practice field while he was trying to get a practice report from my old SouthernMiss.com site.
Yeah, Coach almost made me cry. I swear, no man other than my father would make me cry, but Coach Bauer almost did.
Awesome. I can see that. He still intimidates me, just like walking past him. I'm like, I have like better posture all of a sudden,
Yeah, he commands respect.
Any other comments, PLo?
I think that's it right now. I think we're caught up with everything.
Okay.
While we have some quiet time, I guess, can I mention a guy or two?
Do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Let it rip.
Dude, I think they got a total steal with Southwest Community College speed rush in Jameer Lewis, All-American this year, number 5 in the entire country in sacks with right at 10 sacks. He was so good as a freshman at Southwest. Pete Golding, when he came from Alabama, made sure he signed him right out of the gate to go to Ole Miss. Somehow there was a grade snafu, and Jameer had to go back and finish his degree at Southwest. Lucky for us, and we got in on him early and got him locked in. And we've needed a speed component off the edge, and I think he's going to be big for Southern Miss as a speed pass rusher. That's a guy I'm really excited about. You guys got any more questions while I'm looking?
Yeah, we did. We had one come in. It says, let's see.
From Johnny Cox.
Yeah, Johnny Cox said, would this be the best team on paper that Will Hall has had?
Yeah. If the O-line comes together and they find a legitimate threat at quarterback, yeah. I mean, quarterback's the most important position on the field. We all know that. That's just coach speak. But it has not come to fruition in 3 years. If you don't have a quarterback, you're toast. I mean, they got to have a guy that can get it done at quarterback. And that still remains to be seen.
Yes. So make me believe, Glenn, like if you're sitting at a bar in some other state right now and you're belly up and you're like, what do you do for a living? And who do you follow? Who's your team? You start talking about Southern Miss. And they're like, oh yeah, they've been down for a few years. And you're like, yeah, but this next year is going to be different because.
My hope is that, and it's kind of the catch lightning in a bottle scenario. I'm hoping through adding a quality OC who's been around the block like Chip Long, they can find the strengths of what we have to work with and make it work. Obviously, it all starts at quarterback. Nothing else really, matters. And then from quarterback, if you can find that guy, can this new meshed offensive line take care of business? I think they have a chance to be more athletic than what we've had, not as big, which I think is a good thing. I think we'll be able to get on the perimeter and run the ball a little more with this group. last year defense was kind of a disaster. Defense has kept them in the games for Coach Hall for the last 2 years. That wasn't so much the case at points last season. I'm hoping that Clay can come in here and install his system and get that thing locked down. We've added the pieces through the portal and have enough guys coming back where, we filled all the spots. I don't have a whole lot of questions about defense. We've taken care of the linebacker room. We brought in 2 new corners through the portal. We've gotten quality safeties to add to who we have. And then you got a guy like Cooley coming back along the defensive line to pair with Jalen Williams, or Darius Lewis, Jaleel Clemens off the edge. We should have one of the best, if not the best, defensive fronts in the Sun Belt. So I expect us to get back to being a team that, that limits people, limits offenses, and gives our offense a chance to kind of grow.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I like the sound of that a lot. Blue Bonnet Williams did chime back in, and he asked about the O-line performance last year and kind of what was the reason for the struggle, or can you pinpoint a thing that seemed to be the issue there?
It's really weird, because we started early and Frank just seemed like lost, not
Right.
the same Frank. I think Frank was really pressing, not being patient, and then toward the that point where they flipped, let Jordy and Coach Sam Gregg kind of call the offense and choose some things that they thought might work for them. I think really got them going, moving Mays out to left tackle, and him able to do that, kind of solidify that offensive line. I think. I think down the stretch, didn't we have back-to-back 100-yard rushing performances? No, 200-yard rushing performances for the run game. That kind of got going, and I think then you put Crawford in toward the latter part of the season. His ability to escape the pocket, that was huge at ULL, where he got out of that pocket and threw that touchdown pass. Without that play, that's not even going to happen for us. He brought a component, down the stretch that kind of changed the dynamic of that offense. Defenses have to account for him with his ability to run. It's a whole new ball of wax for them. I'm hoping he can take what he's done and be a more competent passer, and also Coach Long putting him in positions, with his skill set to max that out. I don't think he's a pocket guy. He's a guy you're going to want to get on the perimeter with some run pass options and things of that nature. Set him up to be successful. I think he can pull that off.
Shane Lott asked, who is going to replace the best holder in the country?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. I would say
you talk about big shoes to fill. We said Frank's
Yeah.
were big shoes to fill, but these might be even bigger.
We kind of joke about it, but I've seen that dude pull us out of the fire so many times on low snaps, it's not even funny. He looked kind of like a little shortstop out there at times, scooping them up.
Yep.
Probably going to be Bryce Lofton, the punter, will be in the first guy in line to compete for that spot as the holder. Bryce is 6'3" and some change, so I like the body type and the length there. So we'll see how that pans out in the spring.
We had another comment in from Eagle Ball, said John White for Heisman. In all seriousness, I'm kind of torn now because Crawford looked good.
Yeah,
but I love the competition though.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing to have more than one good player,
at it.
Right?
Let him go.
Yeah.
At it. Yeah. And I still hadn't written off the other two guys. I want to see what they look like in a fresh situation with
Absolutely.
a new OC and a new quarterback coach. Not that there's anything wrong with Jordy; he was fantastic. But in a situation like this, you kind of get a new life.
Yep.
And a different look.
Yeah, and talking quarterbacks, we did have a comment earlier, and I think we did cover this earlier from Go Eagles that talked about the potential for possible portal quarterback possibilities. I know you said that we were trying to hold out for potentially an older quarterback if we could find the right fit. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, and I mean it's not so much as holdout; it's a matter of finding that guy. He's got to. Yeah, he can't just be anybody. He's got to be somebody that. Obviously with some experience, some D1 experience. Edwards and Billy didn't necessarily come in with much experience at all. So, they're learning as well. You want, ideally you want a guy that's got a couple of years under his belt and been in the game. That would be huge. And if John White or Crawford are really your guy, could he be a guy that's a bridge for a year while those guys continue to mature and grow?
Sure
thing. A couple more comments, and we'll get Glyn out of here. We told him like 20 minutes, and it's been an hour.
Go for it.
Attack Eagles says that he's pumped about the new punter and kickers. Says we won in 2022 because of defense and special teams. These are big gets. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Bart Edmiston from I guess is he at Pearl River Jones, one or the other. I should know, but I don't remember. The thing that does stick out in my head is after we nailed him down, probably 4 days after his visit, and he commits to us, LSU offered him. So, and then I'm thinking, oh gosh, he stuck with us. He's gonna be here in the spring. He led the entire nation of junior college football and punting with almost a 45-yard average. He's got a monster leg. And local guy Luke Stewart over at Oak Grove, he's got a howitzer for a right leg. His chance to get on the field early is as kickoff guy. He drills most of his stuff out of the back of the end zone. That'll be the first look he gets. He can also punt a little bit. He'll get a look as well. So those were two great gets. I mean, particularly Edmiston, that was super duper quality there, pulling that late to sign arguably maybe the best punter in the JUCO in the nation in junior college football.
Great. That would be my position of choice. If I had a great leg and I could just be the kickoff kicker. That was it. Go out there, rip it, golf. High five on the way out.
Way to the think about your golf game.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see a couple more comments here. Johnny Cox, we just addressed that kicker from Oak Grove. Go Eagles says.
Yeah, we already got that one.
Okay, we already got that one. And Eagle Balls chime back in, says Jones in his bones. So
there we go.
Yeah. And if that's all of the comments that we got, Glyn, do you have anything else? I know we bounced around and talked about this and that, and we didn't even hit on any other sports because this is just kind of a football recruiting night that's morphed into, I think, how you think we're going to do next year. We aren't going to do anything crazy like that. Like, what's our record? There's a whole summertime for that.
Lay it down now, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's like I mentioned, I mean, there's only 2 spots left, but they're both crucial spots. There's still work to do, man. I mean, they could still find some difference makers, for us that'll mean, the world for us next fall. So
that's a good thing, hanging on to these 2 spots, right? I mean, it's kind of like holding on to a timeout late. You don't want to like get to a point to where you're like, damn, I could sure use that timeout. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been really strategic, man. It ain't easy to line up 30 quality guys in a signing class. It's pretty. I mean, between JUCO, high school, and portal guys, that's a pretty big undertaking. I'm impressed with it, and I'm pleased with it.
2 late comments here. My mom says hello. Hi, Mom. How are you?
Hey, Mom.
I made it. I'm on TV. And then the Wizard has chimed back in and says, who besides Jones won't be here until the summer?
I can tell you who will be here in the spring for the high school guys. Running back Jalen Washington from Houston will be here. Both defensive linemen from Oak Grove, Caleb Moore and Jalen Adams will be here. Guy we didn't touch on, one of my favorite guys, kind of a true explosive nose guard out of West Point, and all the dudes that come out of West Point are dudes. They all ball, man. Zay Lowry. You
hey, there we go.
All day long, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
Here we go.
It's a great last name.
6'3", 280 right now. Explosive, tough guy. Plays in the toughest league in Mississippi high school football. I'm happy to get him in here. He's a guy that actually, I didn't mention him. He can push. He's mature enough physically to push for some quality snaps behind those veterans along that defensive line. And then a guy, I wrote down a few things here about. Always mention a steal. I think the steal of this high school class, we hadn't talked about him, is Damian Miller from Port Gibson. 6'3", 200-pound safety who runs in the 4.4s with right at a 38-inch vertical. Played in the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game. I think that dude was absolute steal. Many thought that he would end up at Mississippi State, and they just didn't pull the trigger. I don't know what the reason was, but I'm happy to have him. And I think I've had people tell me they expect him to be a factor as a true freshman on the back end at free safety or weak safety. He's a freaky specimen, man. But those are the 6 high school kids that will be in here early. And obviously all the portal guys and junior college guys will be here for a total of 22 new football players for the spring.
Wow. Impressive.
For sure.
And, and before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody that don't forget the men's basketball team plays on the road this Saturday in Statesboro versus Georgia Southern at 2 p.m. And at the exact same time, the Lady Eagles play at home at Reed Green Coliseum at 2 p.m. versus Marshall. Glenn, this is the time of the show where we do shout-outs and then shut her down. So if you have any shout-outs that you would like to give, now is the time. I'd also remind everybody that, to hit up that $1 special. This is it's the best Southern Miss content out there. Glenn is second to none with what he does on that site. And so go sign up for that $1 thing. If after a month you don't think it's worth $1,
yeah,
I mean, it's a no-brainer. So,
yeah, I'm cool with it. If I'm not providing
and then
value, understood.
Well, and then after that, it's not a lot. I mean, how much is it? Like $10 a month or something?
It's $8 and change a month. If you pay monthly, an annual is like $109 for the whole year. It takes care of that. And
it's something so small that I forget about it.
Yeah,
that's which is a great thing.
Strong, and we would like to add to our Golden Eagle family. I've made so many friends off this site over the last 7 years. It's unreal, man. Just a whole new group of friends. Just good Southern Miss people.
Love it. Well, do you have any shout outs, Glenn?
I'm going to give a shout out to this staff, man. I mean, like I said, they only lost one guy out of all the guys they had committed. Southern Miss, they're great at building relationships. I mean, it's not coach speak. They truly are great at it. Dwight Wilson, who came over from South Alabama, he was their lead recruiter when coach got him here. He paid dividends right out of the gate. Desmond Lindsay has always been our top dog recruiter. He killed it again. O-line coach Sam Gregg, when they got offensive line guys we wanted in here, he sat down with them and sealed the deal. He's done a really good job pulling in these offensive linemen in this class. And I mean, Joe Marino, he's pretty much our recruiting coordinator. I mean, he's worked his tail off.
He's a superstar.
Yeah, he really is. He won't be here long.
Right.
And I won't miss Joe. But he's done a fantastic job. Reed Stringer, done a fantastic job. Of course, Coach Hall, he's as a head coach, he really is involved with recruiting. If coaches leave and you're wondering, oh my gosh, we're going to lose guys, Coach Hall's already established a relationship with all of those kids. You don't have to worry about it. That bridge has already been built. So that's a plus as well. But that's my long shout out.
That's way better than PLo's normally. PLo, do you have any shout outs?
Shout it. Shout out Benji Barnum. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Barnum, good dude.
Barnum, sorry.
Yeah, very cool.
See, I told you he's terrible at shout out.
I am. No, I mean, I wanted to shout out. This is a little bit of throwback to Foodie Talk. I went and tried the new Big Trouble in Hattiesburg. New little Asian American fusion place right across, I guess it's right past Taco Bell on Hardy Street. So pretty close to campus.
McAllister's.
Yep, McAllister's,
right?
And
Goalpost
and all that.
Used to be an old liquor store.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try that place.
It is great. I'm telling you, when you walk in, it is one of the most attractive restaurants. It looks like something you would walk into in New York City. The decor is just gorgeous, and then the back of it's like an open kitchen, and like it's like a bar, like a lot of bars and high top tables. And then at night they have a bar that opens up, and so there's a whole like bar area, lots of cocktails. We drove by there going and coming back to downtown tonight, and it was packed. But the food is excellent. It's a wide menu of very simple things or very complex kind of dishes, and you can spend as much money as you really want to. So there's very budget friendly, but it's something very special. So shout out to the crew running that. My experience was awesome, and I definitely will be back. So that was really it.
You sold me.
Yeah, I can do
I'm
that.
going.
You know, just shout out to some of my family got to spend time with this week and talk a little bit about the podcast and everything we got going and kind of fulfill my unofficial mayor of Hattiesburg role, as I'm always kind of talking about Southern Miss and Hattiesburg. So there we go.
Just a couple of shout outs for me and we'll shut it down. First shout out is my mom. Her birthday was yesterday. We went down and cooked some burgers. And then Katie and I tried to be 18 years old again and went to the casino all night. So, it's the reason I'm drinking coffee during this episode.
Nice.
Next shout out is to the Bishop family. It's where we have our Christmas Eve traditional hibachi dinner with the Bishops. So shout out to them. And then Mike and Lori Brechtel are now Hattiesburgers. Moved down from Jackson. They're going to be living downtown. So shout out to them. And it looks like all the comments have subsided. So I'd like to remind everybody that this episode was brought to you by our good friends over at 4th Street Bar and Grill. This will definitely be the last one for that. But don't forget about that place. It's awesome. Who knows how much money I've spent at 4th Street Bar and Grill through the years. It's incredible. Yeah. So this episode brought to you by 4th Street, where they are famous for installing and servicing hangovers. Go see our friends at 4th Street Bar today. And in closing, thanks for listening in. Whatever day you might have listened and whichever platform you chose to listen in on. Remember, you can follow me at Bumper J Bailey and Patrick at P Lowry and Glyn at Dyar 2467. Follow us on all the social at To The Top Talk, and don't forget about the mailbag, tothetoptalk@gmail.com. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell somebody to the top today. And as always, Southern Miss
to the top.
Talk.
I could play